Okay, Will, would you like to start with check-in?
Sure. I'm Will Rothenberg. I'm Director of Compensation and Labor Relations for the district. I'm doing great. My time constraint would be to get out of here on time. No elephants missing. On the district side, I know we have Jessica Duncan. Christy Schroed, I believe, is here virtually. And no, Mr. Burnside is here somewhere. Oh, okay. And my expectation would be to reach tentative agreement.
Okay.
Good afternoon, I'm Angela Pruitt. I'm well, time constraints are to finish on time. Elephants none, missing is noted, and I will also have an expectation to reach a tentative agreement.
Thank you. I must say, we're awful chatty tonight.
Good afternoon, I'm Heather Leonard. I'm doing well today. I don't have any time constraints or elephants. I think the missing have been noted, and I'll go with reach tentative agreement tonight as well.
Kimberly Hutchins, I'm good, no time constraints, no elephants. Missing noted and reach tentative agreement.
Good afternoon, I'm Amy Desmore, just fine. No time constraints and no elephants, and my expectation is that we reach tentative agreement.
Good evening, I'm Mike Gatewood, Director of Financial Services. I'm doing great, I have no time constraints, no elephants. Missing is noted and expectation to reach tentative agreement.
Good afternoon, I'm Ben Osman, I'm doing great. I have no time constraints, no elephants. Missing is noted and expectations to reach tentative agreement.
Good afternoon, my name is Bonnie McFarland. I'm the Director of Insurance and Benefits for the district. I'm doing well today. No time constraints beyond the end of the meeting, or until the end of the meeting. I would like to be done on time. Got it. No elephants missing noted, and expectation is to reach tentative agreement.
Good evening, my name is Rachel Gould. I'm the principal of Merritt. Oh, I'm doing well. I'm the proud principal of Merritt Middle. I don't know what I'm doing. Same time constraints as Bonnie, no elephants. Missing's noted, and to reach a tentative agreement.
Thank you.
I only stepped outside so I can go behind Rachel. My name is Carl Burnside, and I'm the very proud principal of Dunbar High School. I'm fine, no time constraints, no elephants. Missing seems to have been noted. Expectations, reach tentative agreement.
Okay.
So, hello, is this on? My name is Kerr Fazone. I'm fine. I'm the infinitely proud Director of Teachers Association of Lee County and Chief Negotiator for the union. No time constraints, elephants. I believe our missing's been noted except for Anna is attending virtually. And my expectation, continue to make significant progress.
My name is Kevin Daly. I am fine. No time. Oh, I am the infinite plus one president, proud president of the Teachers Association of Lee County. I am fine. No time constraints. No elephants. Missing's been noted. Again, expectation is make significant progress. I'm leery of putting that word on there.
Good afternoon, I'm Elizabeth Peterson. I am the other director at Island Coast at VA. I am doing well. I have no time constraints, no elephants. The missing's been noted, and my expectation is to reach a TA tonight.
B.
Hi, I'm Jill Castellano. I am a peer collaborative teacher at East Lee County High School. And I'm also the vice president of the Teachers Association of Lee County. I'm doing well. I have no time constraints except for our finish time. I'd like to be done on time. No elephants. Missing has been noted, and my expectation is continue to make significant progress.
Good afternoon, my name is Samantha Howard. I'm an art teacher at Mariner High and an area coordinator for TALC. I'm very well. I have no time constraints, no elephants, missing has been noted, and I would also expect to reach a tentative agreement.
Hello, I'm Christina Lindner. I'm an ESE teacher at Willows Elementary. I'm doing fine. No time constraints or elephants, missing's been noted, expectation continue to make significant progress.
Hello, I'm Jen Medlin. I am the school counselor at Manatee Elementary. I'm doing well. I have no time constraints, no elephants, missing's been noted, and I'm gonna go with continue to make significant progress.
Good afternoon, I'm Christina Sterrett, and I'm doing well, and I am a K-5 art teacher at Tortuga Preserve Elementary School. No time constraints, elephants, missing's noted, and the expectation is to reach tentative agreement.
Hello, my name is Amy Johnson. I am a 6th grade language arts teacher at Mariner Middle School. I'm very proud of my school too. Should I say proud to overdo proud? I am doing very well tonight. I have no time constraints, no elephants, missing has been noted, and I would love to reach a tentative agreement tonight.
Good evening, I'm Bob Scapitolo. I teach mathematics at Three Oaks Middle School, and I'm also the area coordinator for TALC. I am doing fantastic. No time constraints, no elephants, missing noted, and expectations. Get her done.
Oh, I haven't heard that one in a while.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sheena Torres Nunez, and I am a social worker who serves as a district homeless liaison. I am doing well, no time constraints, no elephants, the missing has been noted, and my expectation is to reach a tentative agreement.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cindy Smith. I'm a coordinator in common labor. I am doing well. I have no time constraints, no elephants, this has been noted,
And good afternoon, I'm Donna. I'm doing well. No time constraints, no elephants, and missing's been noted. My expectation is to help you reach tentative agreement this evening. And with that, there were 2 sets of minutes emailed out this morning, and I know you've all been working all day and probably haven't had time to read them. So what we're going to ask is that we table these minutes, you read them, and then approve them via email, if that's okay with everybody. Is that all right? Excellent. Okay, so that, yes, Bob.
If we have corrections, we're going to mail the corrections?
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll probably approve them as well over email. Yeah. Okay, the next thing on the article is housekeeping compensation. Will?
So we actually had TALC labor management earlier today and went over some of this because this is something that came up with SPALC on Monday as well. There's a little bit of housekeeping that we'd like to do to Article 10. And TALC kind of has some catch-all language in there about legislative bonus programs. What we'd like to do, honestly, is try and work on some of that language as we're doing the tentative agreement stuff. It's really just to capture what's already out there. We had started down this path, I think, 2 years ago when Best and Brightest was a thing, saying, are there other legislative bonus programs? Can we list them? Can we provide some references to statute? And so that's really what we would like to do. We've worked with payroll. There's earnings codes already set up for some of those things, like public employees who adopt children from foster care are eligible for some money from the state. And so really, we're just hoping to get everyone's blessing to kind of add some references to that in. And so the option would be for TALC labor management to do some of that housekeeping as part of the tentative agreement.
Okay, everybody understand what he was referring to? And are we okay to test this option? May I see thumbs, please, for the option to add legislative issues to this compensation article? All right, we're good, thank you. Just let Cindy finish writing that down before we go. Okay, the next thing under housekeeping is special instructional assignment of duties. Angela.
Another piece that we would like to address is providing some language that will require that those people that are employed by the district get priority over assignments of schools and duties, rather than people that are not employees that are contracted getting the choice assignments. We would love for all of the contracted employees to be district employees, but we understand that that isn't always going to be possible. And so one of the things that we want to include is language that says that if you are employed in those positions, you get first right of school assignments and duties before the contracted folks are given their assignments.
Will, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, the other piece, and this comes from the Special Instructional Labor Management Committee, it relates to using school counselors and some of those special instructional positions for classroom coverage. I think there was a recommendation there that we kind of pull those people out of the rotation. With all of the different stuff that we're doing with mental health now, I think there was pretty widespread agreement, that it's not appropriate to have your counselor teaching a reading or math class on one side of the campus when you might need them on the other side to help deal with a student in crisis. And so they could still do that if they would volunteer, but it would be so that they couldn't be required to provide that coverage, which I think as it stands right now, most administrators kind of do that as an unwritten rule, but it would be to kind of memorialize that in the contract.
All right, Jill?
I just want to say that I think that this is an awesome piece to add to the contract. I just have a question. And I guess maybe it's more of an implementation, but how will it work to make sure that they get to submit the names, or is it going to be like I know like bus drivers do bidding for routes, and I don't know if I'm using the right words, but the process to make sure that the district employee is able to select their location.
Yeah, we'll have to work with with Jessica Duncan and how we're going to make that process work. And it would be my expectation that anyone that's an employee of the district in that job category would be given, that first choice, if you will. In other words, put out the list of schools and who wants to be where, and that they have that input. I just am absolutely opposed to people that do contract work getting choice above district employees who are loyal to the district. To me, it's very important, and anecdotally, I think sometimes the district employees don't get that option or choice, and so we want to make sure that they're able to do so. Does that answer your question?
Anybody else? Yes, Christine.
My question would be, when can we start implementing this? Like, could they start changing positions this year, or are you planning to have this start at the beginning of next school year?
My answer to that would be definitely for next year, but if there's going to be any mass reassignments or anything of that nature, then it would be this year. So if there's going to be any major movement, it would happen this year, but if not, it would definitely be for next year.
Okay, any other questions, clarifications needed? Okay, do we have an option? Oh. Ooh, no? All right, so the option would be?
To finalize the language through labor management prior to the tentative agreement going out.
Prior to the tentative agreement going out. Okay, so we have an option up there. Anything to add to the option, or are we ready? Yes, Sheena. Okay.
I know the language regarding the suggestion for not allowing special instructional staff to be in the rotation. I just want to make sure the language is going to be specific to all special instructional staff, or is it going to be primarily for school counselors? Just for clarification, because this does impact school social workers as well, because sometimes they're teaching social emotional supports in the class.
It would be for all special instructional, which different from elementary specials teachers. I mean, they're still classroom teachers, and I know sometimes people, kind of use those interchangeably. Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you couldn't teach that class, or that you can't have classroom guidance, or do other things like that. It just means that you wouldn't necessarily be pulled from other duties.
Okay, anything else? Are we ready to test this option? Okay, I see heads nodding, so are we okay with this option? Live with it? Everybody's thumb? All right, we're good, thank you. 2 quick ones. Yes, Bob?
I would like to just kind of go back to when Will brought up the compensation housekeeping. We haven't discussed this in years, and I would just like to bring it up. If we would turn our attention to page 37 of the contract on the non-standard rate of pay, 10.04. And I know that, we've discussed this over the years. A lot of times it's been off the cuff. And looking at page 37 on number 3 on professional development, on B, attending a voluntary training. And we've discussed this in length over the past year as far as the teachers and us here. And the $15 per hour of training needs to be addressed. I mean, back when, I can't recall when we first put the $15 in there per hour, but it's been a long time. And, you know, $15 an hour back 10 years ago wasn't too bad of a pay. You know, but $15 an hour 10 years later needs to be changed. I know that there are some stores out there right now that have signs on their doors, hiring for the holidays for $15 an hour. And when these teachers are attending these voluntary trainings, sometimes these voluntary trainings are really, really important. And so to go for 3 hours on a training for $45 and have the training start at 5 o'clock and go until 8 o'clock with no dinner, and then get home around 8:30, 9 o'clock, you know, $15 an hour, I think we need to address it. Whether or not it can be changed to the hourly rate that is an A on attending a required training, but I think we need to discuss it.
Okay, Angela?
I'm not opposed to discussing it, but I would say that would have to be next session, only because there would have to be a lot of analysis to the cost of that, and it would have it would have an impact on, definitely on the financials. You know, when you take 6,000 teachers times, and then because it's optional, and then you gotta think of, you know, what that might do to the bottom line. So we would not be prepared to do that for this year, but I'm not opposed to discussing it next bargaining session.
And let me ask you this too, Angela. When teachers go to these trainings, where does the funds come out of?
I'm gonna say this with no disrespect, it is all the same pot of money. Comes from the district operational funds.
So last year when we ratified our contract, we ratified a contract not knowing how many teachers were gonna be paid that $15 an hour for X amount of days for the entire school year, correct?
Correct, but what we do is we do budgeting where we look back and we take an average. And so that's what the budget would be based on, okay, what has happened the last several years? What is that average amount? And then we budget that amount of money.
Okay, so this could be on our agenda for next, the next bargaining session,
For the next
like March or April.
next contracts.
Right.
Bargaining session,
Right.
yeah. If we finish tonight, then yes, it would be the next bargaining session. If we don't finish tonight, I would say it would be the first bargaining session for the next time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but now that you've said it, we at least can have that conversation to see if that's, viable or even an option, or at least present, here's what the cost would be, and is that something that you guys are willing to do?
And I think another thing that needs to be discussed too is that sometimes an administrator might have a negative attitude towards a teacher that doesn't go to one of these voluntary trainings, and that might be really important, but if the teacher can't go for whatever reason, I think that if it's voluntary, there shouldn't be any repercussions either on any teacher that says, I can't make it.
There absolutely should not be.
Okay, thank you.
And if you hear of that, you would need to let them know so they can let me know.
Thank you.
I see Kevin's hand.
And this is something too, not to derail all the stuff we're gonna do in a minute, but, excuse me, again, that discussion around voluntary versus mandatory. And again, next, first session next time or whenever, the stuff that Bob brought up comes up, the idea of how do we determine whether or not something is mandatory versus voluntary, because I think there are things that are slid as voluntary that really are something an employee needs to do their essential function of their job. And so, really the only, like you said, it's only one pot of money. So the only real way we're gonna get to a point where we make serious decisions is if, there are serious implications. And so like, if the training is mandatory, that costs more for somebody to want people to go to it. So then they really have to examine whether or not it's something they absolutely want their employees to take because it costs money. And so budgeting is an allocation of resources and shows shows what's important in your life or what's important in your organization. And so I think we need to pay a little of attention to that too and kind of get that memorialized on the list for the same discussion.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, Article 7. We have the snapshots falling down. I don't know if that's a sign or what. But the snapshots for Article 7, 7.01 PLC, frequency, duration, mandatory meetings, teacher planning periods, mandatory attendance outside of contract time, teaching during planning period were some of the snapshots. And then the second page of snapshots, we had housekeeping, spelled Article 5, assignment of duties. I think we completed Article 5 already. We had duty day meetings, reasonable definition of it. Housekeeping lists the holidays that Spelk has in their contract. Emergency disruption around testing, treated like emergencies, and revisit DJJ work calendar. So those were all the snapshots for Article 7. Interest or clarification, consistency, employee morale, recruitment and retention, equity, manageability. And we had a request for instructional coverage supplement being paid out, PLC guidelines, attendance date for DJJ employees and kids, and comparable info from other districts about DJJ. So, where would you like to begin, Will?
So I think most of those things we had addressed. The one that I know was sent to TALC Labor Management that we were supposed to come back with was some proposed language around PLCs. And so we went back and looked. The PLC guidelines are on the district website, and we can make sure that they're in a more conspicuous place, and I think can come back to TALC Labor Management and put a last reviewed or last updated date on that, so everyone knows that they are, still current, and that we've looked at them recently and said that they still work. But the recommendation, and I'll read this, and you don't worry about capturing it for the charts. I've got it, so we can print it and add it or something.
Okay.
Is to change the language in 7.011D, which is where it mentions PLCs. And so, actually, yeah, I'll put it up on the screen. Give me just a second. Is everyone able to read that? Not sure if I can zoom in any more than that. So it says, instructional staff will work with their immediate supervisors to develop a work schedule that allows for appropriate planning time and PLC meetings. PLC meetings will be led by instructional staff, held at a maximum of once each week. We'll have an agenda sent out at least 48 hours prior to the meeting, and we'll focus on teaching and learning. PLC meetings may consist of employee-requested professional development, data analysis, shared planning, creating assessments, collaboration, and continuous improvement. School-based administrators will review the PLC guidelines with their staff each year, and the TALC Labor Management Committee may review situations where there are concerns about PLC meetings. Okay, so Dr. Pruitt brought up that should say mandatory maximum of one per week in case teachers do decide that they want to have more than one PLC. The contract doesn't limit them from doing that if they would like. And this language is taken almost directly from the PLC guidelines, so it's not anything that we really had to create. It's all already in there based on those guidelines.
All right, Samantha, I saw your hand up.
This may actually be in the guidelines, I don't have those in front of me, but is there who's responsible for getting the agenda sent out the 48 hours prior to the meeting?
Yep, and then.
I don't know that there is, and honestly, having the language in there that says an agenda will be sent out 48 hours in advance, that might be something better to have, like the 48 hours part in the guidelines. Because I think, again, now that I'm thinking about it, you don't want someone saying, well, you didn't send it 48 hours in advance, and so, I don't have to attend, or, that's not gonna work. So I'm gonna strike that and just say prior to the meeting.
Okay, anything else?
Singleton.
All right, go ahead.
And again, I know this some of this stuff is already in the guidelines, but I'd like to ask a couple more questions. Is there a description, basically a job description of what the facilitator's role is and how that works in the guidelines? And then with the singletons, and I know this part is in fact in the guidelines, but I'm wondering if it, because of how valuable it is to our special areas, that singletons being able to select from multiple options in collaboration with their administrative team, about really using that time for the benefit of those teachers and the students that they serve.
Okay, do we have an answer for the first question? Well.
Yeah, so I think there is some description of like roles and responsibilities, and I think it breaks it down kind of instructional staff and administrators, like what are your roles in the PLC, because it is supposed to be led by instructional staff. The mention of singletons, like you said, that's in the PLC guidelines, and I think there were 3 or 4 different options there for people. And if there's other things in that need to be clarified or added, I think, again, this contract language kind of points people to that. So that might give us an opportunity to come back and do some fine tuning through labor management if there's things that, as people take a look at it, especially now that Zoom is more accessible, and so singletons could collaborate between schools via Zoom, that we might be able to account for.
Kevin?
I'm concerned that doesn't solve the problem. Again, I think part of the reason we're moving it into contract is because, guidelines are wonderful, but guidelines didn't carry the weight of contract language. And so, the best people, like the Special Instructional Labor Management Group, the best people to PLC together would probably be elementary school art teachers. I'm not sure you know, how an elementary school art teacher might benefit from PLCing with the third grade team over, you know, PLCing with their colleagues that teach the same stuff when we talk about answering the 4 questions and how we're going to do things and how we're going to understand, you know, really do collaborative planning across the disciplines. So I mean, I know it's in the guidelines, but I think there needs to be some reference in here because, you know, a principal could very well, and again, oftentimes, as Mr. Burnside sometimes points out, we bargain for the extremes, right? The one bad principal who's going to take advantage of something, or the employee on the other side. But I think, you know, if it's in guidelines, you know, an art teacher or a music teacher could advocate to do that, but then, you know, the principal might open up to this article and say, well, it doesn't say in here that I need to have, that you're able to do it. So I'm just concerned about the singletons and it being an authentic PLC for them as well, because I think the best PLCs are authentic PLCs and teacher-driven PLCs. And so when we look at authenticity, I think it's important to allow people to, especially with Zoom and everything like that, to allow people to explore those options.
Do you have a suggestion for language to add? Okay, thank you. Christina was next, and then I saw Jill, and then Angela. And then Carl.
Just to piggyback off of that, when we're talking about singleton teachers, that also applies to ESE teachers in a way. It really doesn't make sense for an ESE teacher that has, say, a self-contained class with students that are mostly on access points to have PLCs with Gen Ed 4th grade that are working on completely different standards. So yes, we touch base and we keep in contact, share lesson plans and so forth, but I think it'd be a lot more beneficial if we could Zoom with other ESE teachers that teach similar classes.
Okay, thank you. Jill?
I'm really glad that we're making steps to put this in contract language because it's been a challenge to address PLC issues. My concern is right now, the language does not address the big problem that we heard, especially from elementaries where the teachers were PLCing every day. And so if you take a third grade teacher who teaches multiple subject areas, they had a math PLC on Monday, ELA, science, social studies, reading. Every day their whole planning was occupied by PLC. And so the way I look at it, it says a mandatory once a week. Well, they could say, well, math meets mandatory once a week and you teach math, and science meets once a week and you teach science. So my concern is, is that clearly being covered there, that especially at an elementary level, and then I even know at middle school levels, teachers are assigned 3 or 4 PLCs and they're losing planning time 3 or 4 times a week because it's their grade level PLC. So all the 7th grade teachers meet, and then it's a team PLC, and then it's their subject area PLC, and then it's this data PLC. We have schools have multiple PLCs, and all of a sudden there goes your planning 4 or 5 days a week. And if each PLC is an individual concept, they can be mandatory once a week. And so that's my concern, that issue that we hear about a lot, and a lot of those PLC issues come to me, that language isn't addressing that.
Okay, thank you. Angela?
Well, I'm going to respectfully disagree because I interpret that as you're required to participate in 1 PLC a week. You can participate in more, but the expectation is that you participate in 1. The only thing that I would like to add to this language, because I think, Kevin, and this is to your point about extremes, I think the language needs to state, Mr. Rothenberg, that there is an expectation that teachers participate and are engaged in their mandatory PLC. Because I will say from a principal standpoint, and maybe things have changed because I realize it's been 7 years, But the struggle I had was the teachers that would either not show up or they would show up and not engage. So I think if we're gonna hold principals accountable for, you know, the once a week, that we need to hold teachers accountable for being actively engaged and participating in the PLC that they mandatorily need to, go to. I would love some, and I totally agree with the comments about the singletons and the ESE. I think we need to have something, I don't know if Kevin has a language, but something about, you know, working with your principal to determine the best PLC structure for you and your position. Because I totally agree. I always felt bad for some of the special area teachers or, you know, certain ESE teachers that they would, you know, be required to show up somewhere and it had absolutely nothing to do with the work that they were doing each and every day. So I fully support that. As a former very, very proud principal of Trafalgar Middle School, I fully support that. But I definitely want some language in there. Instructional staff will be actively engaged and participate in the PLC meetings. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Carl was next, and then I saw Kerr's hand.
Okay. Okay, I also want to state, I also agree with what Kevin and someone else brought up about the singleton piece. Because as a principal, I really have never tried to force people to offer PLC. So I'm not sure what the language should be. It may be something where there's something that's brought forward where between a collaboration between the principal and the teacher in terms of that. But I do agree with that, and also now, because what was mentioned with Kevin Jordan about having Zoom, I think it does allow now, we used to talk conceptually about having those PLCs across the district. I would much rather a couple of my singleton folks, because I got some singleton programs that I really I would kind of put some of the singleton teachers on spot. So what are they doing at Mariner? What are they doing at Estero? What are you guys, talking about? So I think with Zoom, there's no reason that can't happen now. I mean, really, so that's something I really agree with. I'm not sure what the language should be, but I would like to see that kind of agreed to. I am going to make a request, and having sat here for some years, and I don't need to know here at the team, but one of the things when I hear about some of the abuses, such as or even some of the misinterpretations of where perhaps a third grade teacher is having in the same week a math PLC and a ELA PLC and things of that nature, because something that violates this, and I know that quote unquote teachers don't want to get in trouble, but we're never going to fix this. So I don't know if this happens, but I would like to know how many schools. I would like to know that. So like for instance, if there are a bunch of high schools, because this is the thing that you don't know. When Dr. Pruitt, when they get a call, when they call someone and put a principal up against it for violating that, we usually hear about it because they end up telling on themselves because they're in trouble, or they're calling it, or they're trying to figure out how to get out of trouble. But if it's a, I don't know if the number's 40 principals out of 100 or 4. That would give me a better idea, because like I said, when some of them are called on it, but guess what, if they're never called on it, then that number could be bigger it could be 10 times larger than it has to be. So in future sessions, it would be really good for me that from now to the end of the year, every time it comes up at school, whatever, don't even have to have the information. If they have it, it's going to help me understand. So even and I know when we're in our groups, it's very powerful for us to be in an association meeting at our levels and say, some of you are doing this, bam, bam, bam. That has an effect as well. But if we don't know, and like I said, if it's 1 or 2, then I've always said that maybe that'll help. But right now, over the years, I've never had a sense of when we say those things happen, and I don't mean to, I just don't have a sense of how many. And just for me, so it's like an official data request. That would help me get a certain context to the size of the problem. So thanks.
Okay, I had Kerr and then Rachel.
I'm actually going to step in just to answer. One of the schools, not to like call out a name, but I'm not going to give a reference. One of the schools we had a very difficult time with when I first took over was one where you and I first met. You may not remember where my aunt worked. I don't think you remember who my aunt is. They were doing it 5 days a week for the poor elementary school teachers. And so, and we also have problems with, I mean, I know a lot of people in this room find it hard to believe because honestly, you know, we hear very few problems from any of the administrator schools on this panel, right? There are a large number of employees who are hesitant to even bring up problems, and you know, but there was one early on that was 5 days a week, and so I get it. We'll start providing more data. I just don't want to like sit here and call people out on Zoom directly, but yeah, we were working with that. All right.
Okay, Kerr, and then Rachel.
We were discussing the singletons, and our answer may be in the guidelines themselves. Will, it seems like we're missing maybe a reference to the guidelines in this language, and then there are 4 options that exist for singletons that are explicitly, or listed explicitly at the end of the guidelines. Maybe we just include those in the language here. Okay.
I had come up with, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Rachel was next, but.
Oh. Well, okay, then let me do this, then I'll bring you the microphone. Something generic maybe, instructional staff may work with their administrator on a PLC assignment that is job-related and supports student achievement.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're. Sam, did you hear what she said? Can Angela read that one more time?
Oh, she just handed the mic to Rachel.
But he's typing it in. Yeah, I'll read it.
All right, Will's typing it in, so let's let Rachel have her say before. Go ahead, Rachel.
I think it's also important to distinguish between a PLC and a meeting. There was talk about team and department at the middle school level. A PLC is very different than a meeting. And a department meeting, a team meeting, those are a staff meeting, those are different gatherings. And I think it's important to make sure that we distinguish between those.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the language is up there. Can we look at that first? Is it up there, Will? Okay, he's highlighting the language he put in for those of you who are concerned about the special singletons and special areas. Instructional staff may work with their immediate supervisor on a PLC assignment that is job-related and supports student achievement. Comments, clarification? Her, and then Samantha.
No, he's got it.
Okay.
Our team was drafting language on the fly, and this is pretty much what our team came up with. And I just, while I have the mic, I agree with Rachel, what you just said wholeheartedly. And I think that is one of the big things that led us to really want to put this in the contract so that they're not just in those guidelines, because they're the guidelines even give examples of inappropriate uses of PLCs and faculty meetings and things like that are in there as a non-example of a PLC.
Okay, great. Any other issues or comments on PLCs? All right, we have the sample language up there. Does anybody have an option regarding that? Angela?
Be our option.
Okay. The language up on the board for Article 7.011D. Jill?
I would like to bring up, and this would be for our next, not our quote-unquote next meeting, but our next next contract opening. That we, and this would probably most likely will have to go to supplement committee first, that at some point we begin discussing a supplement for a PLC facilitator, because there is a lot of work that goes into that and maybe even a job description. But that would be something for a future contract opening, not for this one. I just want to put the concept out there to start the discussion.
Okay. I think we can handle that. So we have an option up there. Do I have any other options? We ready?
Limited sidebar.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're okay though.
All right, so we have an option up there to accept this language regarding PLCs that is up on the screen. All those who can support that, please may I see your thumbs. Oh, I can actually see them now. Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, looks like we have our PLC language. Thank you. All right, the other thing up there was mandatory meetings, or, okay. Teacher planning period.
I think we're done with Article 7. That was the last
That was the last piece of article?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And that leaves us with Article 12. We just need to kind of formalize Article 12, what we're going to do here with it. Article 12 is regarding leaves, and I know there has been discussion about this, so Angela.
My option is status quo for Article 12, and that we will continue to work on it throughout the remaining months of this year. It's a very complicated article, and to do it justice, we need more time, and we will continue to work through it, both through SPALC and TALC labor management, so that when we have our next contract negotiations, we have some actual language at that time to bring forward. So status quo for this contract.
Okay. Any concur?
No, I agree. This has been a long time coming. A lot of work put into this, and especially in the middle of a global pandemic. Now's probably not the best time to be altering that language. So we're committed to working on this jointly with SPALC to bring something forward for next time. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we have an option of status quo, and that you will continue the work you've already done on Article 12 to make it more complete and equitable. So can I see thumbs for that one? Thank you. All right, that leads us, Kerr.
Sorry, before we discuss implementation, I'm wondering if we could come to some sort of consensus around Article 14.03 and adjusting the duration of the TALC contract.
That was my next thing. You got it.
According to the contract, we're supposed to be set up to do full book negotiations next year, and I feel like we just left full book negotiations, so I think if we extend the contract out 3 more years, that would do us a great service.
With what as far as openings?
Just keeping all that the same, just changing the duration to cover FY, what would that be, 21, 22, 23?
This is 21 and 22, 23, right?
Yeah.
Yes, management agrees.
Okay. So duration extend to 3 years with the same language of 2 articles each, compensation, and 1 common article? Okay. And I see thumbs for that. All right, we've got the duration.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now implementation. Where are we going with implementation? Do we have plans for?
All right, so TALC put in for their waiver with PERC to conduct an electronic ratification again, just like we did with COVID. We don't anticipate having any roadblocks with that. I believe we're looking at if we can have a tentative agreement to send out to everyone by the winter break. I think we can ratify, I should have my calendar in front of me. So if we're targeting the board meeting on the 26th for the board to ratify in January, yes, not December, then I think TALC could ratify the week of the 18th, tentatively the 20th and 21st.
Okay. Anything to add, Angela?
If that timeline is met, then we can commit to a March payout.
Okay. Anything else we need to talk about implementation? Will you have enough time, how long will it take for you to review the tentative agreement before you put it out to your bargaining unit?
I think we should only need a couple of days. We would really like for everyone in the TALC unit to have it in their hands at least by Friday the 18th, so that they can digest over the break, so that when we come back, we could do some sort of info session and maybe a video or something along those lines to do some communication prior to ratification.
Okay, is that possible?
I think the question is, when does the executive team need the draft so that it's ready for the 18th? How many days do you need to review the draft?
Monday or Tuesday?
Let's see if that's possible, because
We are gonna do our very best to meet that timeline.
Okay.
Just to get more time.
Bob?
I just had one question, Angela.
Wait for the mic, please.
Sure.
Yeah, for the March payout, would that be like the middle of March or the end of March?
I like the way he says March. I'm gonna shoot for the middle of March, but I'm not gonna commit to the middle of March.
Okay.
I would prefer the middle only because we do have insurance and benefits, and so that kicks in on the 31st, so it would be confusing for members. So that is our target, but just in fair to the hardworking folks in payroll, I don't wanna.
No, I think it would be fair for, if the people knew that it was March, I don't think that they would question if it was in the middle of the end.
Yeah.
I think that would be fine.
Okay. Kevin?
Do we want to talk about kind of the nuts and bolts of like videos and, you know, maybe big Zoom sessions for people to tune into? Do we want to talk about that here tonight, or do we want to do other things and exactly what we're going to do in that kind of educational time frame and when people get back from break?
We're open, we can discuss it now, or we can, you know, conclude and then we can just talk about it, whatever your pleasure.
I say we can do that outside of this this meeting, and I'm sure, I'm just talking to Kevin here, because of where the ratification falls with the TALC rep meeting in January, we may hold some sort of special meeting just for our reps to educate on the contract changes.
Okay. Anything else that we need to cover at this time? All right, with that, I want you to please remember that the interest-based process, whatever we come to consensus in this room, is what we go out proposing without any dissension, or we are in this together, are we all going to consensus about everything? So please remember that in the upcoming months. We are going to do a little checkout tonight, and I would like to see, on a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 is lowest. Most of you have done this process before. We have 1 or 2 that haven't. So I would like to see hands, 1 to 5, how you felt about it. So, Kirk, how the process works, or worked.
Can you clarify 1 and 5?
1 is lowest, 5 is highest.
Okay.
4, 4, 4, 5, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 4, 4, 4, 5, 4, 4, 4, 5, 4, 5, 5, 5. Okay. With that, I wish you did a wonderful job. It feels like we've been at this a long time because we did the MOU as well. And wish everybody happy holidays, enjoy your time off, and thank you very much for all your hard work.